website. I'll post
Alrighty,
on the
everybody.
website after.
So we've had some introduction and a roll call. So let's get right on to our first agenda item, which would be a review of projects, starting with the Baywood Elementary School Safe Routes to School project on El Morro. That's a sidewalk, curbs and gutter from 9th Street to 8th Street on El Morro. And I included the email from Genaro Diaz so everybody could read what he said. I didn't want to paraphrase it. I wanted to, you to get the full understanding of what they're telling us, which is essentially they're not going to move forward with this project until the Coastal Commission approves the Habitat Conservation Plan. The Habitat Conservation Plan will have in it a way for you to do something called a taking, which allows you to infringe on some area that might be necessary for habitat. And that happens all the time when you have roadways where you need easements and you need to, widen a road or whatever. Right now, we don't have that because they haven't finalized the Habitat Conservation Plan. And so as a result, they're not going to be able, or they will not be moving forward on this sidewalk project. So the project's been fully funded. $220,000 was set aside by Locac for this project. $50,000 was spent on the design for this project. So we have $170,000 left. But what Mr. Diaz is telling us is, well, we can't really hold on to that money. So what I understand from John D'Annunzio, who's staff at Locac, is that money will go back into the pot. It's not going to necessarily stay here in Los Osos. It's just going to go back to the pot. Now, that funding cycle of Safe Routes to School is closed, and they've opened a new funding cycle called Community Betterments. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit more because that has a $7 million funding amount in it. There are two parts to that funding. One is 4 million, the other is 3 million. And the 3 million one is coming from a thing called REAP, which is like early planning something. Anyway, I can get you the name of it. But the bottom line is they provide planning grants. So the planning grant is what we're looking for our next project, which is the Los Osos Valley Road project from Palisades to Doris. The planning grant that is available in this new cycle of funding called Community Betterments requires a one-to-one match. So you can get up to $150,000, but you have to match it dollar for dollar. So it was suggested to me that I go and speak at Locac at their board meeting, which was last week. Like any person in the public, I have my 3 minutes, right? And advocate for the money from the El Morro project that we're going to lose be used as a match for the Los Osos Valley Road project so that we can get funding money for design. And so I did that. I wrote up a letter. I had Locac approve it. So it's signed by Locac, and I got a bunch of people to sign. And I went to Locac and I did my 3-minute spiel, and I was like the only person there from the public. It was really quite amazing. So, it was good because I got a lot of attention, and I'm not sure they fully really understood what I was asking, take this money and put it over here and then give us the rest of it. But it was a start. So after I spoke, John Wydell, who is, thank you, Tom, John Wydell, who is the head of Public Works, was sitting in front of me, and he turned around and he said, let's talk after the meeting. And I go, okay. And then somebody else wanted to talk to me. So I got up and I left and I went outside. And then he followed me, John Waddell, and he said, we want to do this corridor study. So the bottom line is they want to do a corridor study of Los Osos Valley Road from Foothill to Pecho. That's what they want. And they don't want to be sidelined by any other project on Los Osos Valley Road. They want to do the big thing first, and that makes sense. However, it doesn't make sense on a ground level. It doesn't make sense to the children or to the seniors who are walking on Los Osos Valley Road. And I told him that. And so we had a really long conversation, and, we back and forth quite a bit. And it's just step one with getting Public Works to reorient themselves towards this smaller project. I'm going to continue to advocate by going to the Board of Supervisors. So in case you don't know, Locac is made up of the Board of Supervisors plus representatives from each city. So Morro Bay had a council member there. Paso Robles had a council member there. So each city, Heather Moreno from Atascadero was there. So that comprises the full board of Locac. So I'm going to see Debbie Arnold. I have made an appointment to go see her at her office on May 2nd, and I will be talking to her about it. There are two other people that spoke after I did my presentation, my 3-minute speech. And one was a guy from Paso Robles, Fred Strong, and one was a guy from Arroyo Grande, Jimmy Paulding. And Fred said, my daughter lives in Los Osos, and that's a very dangerous road. So he just sort of chimed in and said, yeah, needs to happen. And then Jimmy Paulding brought up the fact that when they rate these projects, one of the things they rate is if you're a disadvantaged community, you raise up a little bit. 15% of their rating is based on if you're disadvantaged or not. And we are considered disadvantaged. So he said, well, how would a disadvantaged community even know that they could apply for this money? And he was told, oh, the CSD could do it, could apply. So that was something I didn't know. And so maybe going to the CSD here is a way for us to, again, make our requests known. So I'll be looking into that as well. So I'm not saying I've made progress, but I haven't run into any dead ends yet. How's that?
Yeah.
Could I say something about that, Deborah?
Sure. What would you like to say?
So just real quick, yesterday when I met that gal, Catalina, she lives like a block or two away from us. My understanding of Locac, and honestly, I didn't even know about this group until recently, but it sounded like they had people who would apply for grants and that there's grant money out there. But somebody needs to do that, and my understanding, unless I may have gotten it wrong, is that that's part of what they would do if they agreed to do some sort of project like the walkway one you're talking about. So
yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, Marge. So yes, they will go get money, but in order to, Locac cannot do a grant application. The county, SLO County, can do a grant application to the state for our project. The CSD can do a grant application, and the school board can do a grant application. An individual school can do an application. So we need one of these entities to stand up and say, we want this project, we will do the application for the grant. And we'd be happy. In fact, Meg, you reached out to the school, and you can talk a little bit about that, Meg, as far as we'll do the work, but we need you guys to represent. Meg, you want to chime in here?
Sure, yeah. I spoke to Katie Salcido, who is the principal at Monarch Grove Elementary. And I explained to her exactly what you just said. And she said she'd be more than willing to sign on the dotted line if we got the application filled out. So she's totally on board.
Great.
So it's a matter of finding out what application we would use. I'm kind of at a loss as far as that's concerned. Do you have any information on that?
No, but I can get it.
Okay.
And then I
Okay.
would like to jump in and just say, I learned today that there is a grant writing workshop for application to state and county grants. Yeah, I signed up for it.
Wow.
And
where's
so
Oh,
that'll
that's
happen
excellent.
next month, I think the 13th and 15th. So I don't remember the dates off the top of my head, but
I
so
think
I'm
it's the
working on
10th
it,
and
Meg.
11th.
I'm sorry, Deborah.
I think it's the 10th and the 11th.
Okay, so it's mid
Yeah.
next month, but I'm working on it. Once I get some training, Meg.
Yeah,
And Deborah, we will find some grants, applications to go after. I'm also
excellent.
working with an individual that works inside of the county in a division who's willing to help point me towards possible grants as well. So I'm on it.
Excellent.
I
Thanks,
want
Jim.
I want to give Tom a chance to, he has his hand up, so I want Tom to go ahead and
All right, just briefly, I go to the CSD meetings regularly, so anytime we need to reach out to the CSD, I could possibly lead that front if need be, or show up to support. I do public
Excellent.
comment there whenever we need to be, and I have another meeting starting in 30 minutes. I'm not going to leave this one, but just know that I'll be like only half paying attention to two meetings
Okay.
at once.
all right, cool. All right, thanks. That's multitasking. I love it. All right, Tom, thanks so much. Yeah, so getting somebody to represent is the first step, right? And it can be the CSD, it could be the school district, it could be the school board. So we just need to get whoever's going to be our best shot here going. We'll get the grant written. Lynette, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the CSD really doesn't have any nexus to something like this. They don't have any land use authority. They do parks, they do water, they do fire, they do drainage. And that's pretty much it. So I would focus on the school board. I'm so sorry that Jim is not here. Quisenberry, because he's on the inside and has been on the inside of that. So that would be the best place to go.
But
Well,
I
this-
would argue, I would also say, Lynette, that as part of their authority with parks is to help with a safe route along El Moro to Baywood. There's things that we could do with CST that provide for safe routes and safe streets. So.
Okay,
those-
but
go
Contact
ahead.
Ron Munns.
yeah. I can contact Ron, but here's the thing. When I was at the Slowcog meeting and John, I think his name was John, Jimmy Paulding from Arroyo Grande said, well, how are these disadvantaged communities supposed to access this grant funding? And the staff person who was presenting it said, oh, the CSD can do it. And John D'Annunzio, who's on the staff of Slowcog, turned to me and he said, that's not in the program. So Slowcog voted on it and they unanimously approved that they would have this fund of money, $7 million called Community Betterments, that this is now a program and they're doing a call for projects. So afterwards he said to me, Deborah, that is not in the, it's not how it's written up that the CSD can apply for this money. However, because the staff person said they could and everybody voted on it, he said, I think it now becomes where they can. And I said, well, I guess we need to figure that out. So whether they can or can't is a question mark. We know that the schools can. So we'll keep pushing through the school area, but I'm not going to let the CSD possibility go because I just don't know yet whether or not that's really true. And if it's not the case, then what that staff person told Jimmy Paulding of Slowcog was wrong information, and they still aren't answering the question, which is how do disadvantaged communities access this money? So Tom, yes.
Lynette had her hand up before me. She can go first.
I'll put it down. I'm done.
She's gonna put it down.
Oh, in just the case for bring up the CSD again, that's something I have ambitions in joining as well. At the CSD, I think, despite having very little land use authority, I think can have a very valuable public advocacy component, much like Locac does, just as a supplement to that. So having them as allies, although may not have official support or ability to write grants, can still be very valuable as showing that the community of Los Osos supports this project. We have both Locac and the CSD asking for this.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you 100%. Yeah, we want everybody to support this, every organization in the community. And that's what's so important about our outreach coming up May 1 is that all those organizations are going to be there, right? So we can get them signed on to this. So now a very interesting thing happened. Because I'm promoting the outreach event, I've been bravely getting on Nextdoor and putting, I went on Nextdoor and I said, hey, I went to Slowcog and I talked about this need for this multi-use path on Los Osos Valley Road. And, come to our outreach event. I put the ad up there and I got an email from an individual that said they represent a property owner on Los Osos Valley Road and they would like to talk to me. So I had a conversation with a gentleman who represents a property owner on Los Osos Valley Road, just east of Pine. It's a 5-acre parcel, and they want to support this project. But they want to know what it is. What's it going to look like? Because they are developing a plan to develop that 5-acre parcel. And obviously they don't want to make their plan and then have us come through and say, oh, well, we're going to put something through here like this. They want to coordinate with us. And so we talked quite a bit about it, and they're supportive of whether we go on Los Osos Valley Road or plan B, which is to go on the next street over, which is Rosina. Rosina doesn't go through all the way to Palisades, but it could if they wanted to put a road there. They could just, Rosina goes behind Monarch Grove and it goes past Golden State where they have a nitrate filtering out facility, and then it just kind of dead ends in another block. But it could go all the way to Palisades through that empty space, open space. So I said, well, that's plan B. And he goes, oh, well, that's a pretty good plan B. And I said, only nobody knows that's plan B because that's in my head. So now I'm sharing it with you that there could be a plan B if we can't get the Los Osos Valley Road done. But I think it's going to be a little harder to do plan B.
Yeah, no.
I think it's better to stick with plan A.
Yeah, that road is actually a private road.
Yeah.
And I would imagine you'd have to get, everybody on that road on board with having, the pathway go through there.
Who owns it, Meg? Is it Golden State?
No, all those, the road itself, I don't know, but I know that there's a sign that says private road and they discourage cars to go through there. So I don't think it's a county maintained road.
Yeah, I don't think it's county maintained road. But could we put a path on it?
Again, I think that would, I'm not exactly sure who has rights on the road, but I'm assuming it's probably the property owners.
Right. So I kind of thought it was Golden State because they're their
Their
equipment
facility is
right
there. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's where the sign is.
Well, they don't know.
So, a little more investigation is needed there.
Sure. Sure.
I think we stick with plan A as much as possible. And so,
Okay. Could I say something? I'm not sure. Is that all right? I don't know how you talk.
or do you know how to raise your hand?
No.
Go down to the bottom and on the,
Oh,
there's a little thing that says reactions. It has with a smiley face. If you click
Oh.
on reactions, it has a thing that says raise my hand, raise your hand. Do you see it?
it's clapping and thumbs up only
Mm,
on mine.
let's see if you click on it, and then there's a bar and it says raise hand.
Oh,
Under the clapping and the thumbs up, there's a thing that says raise hand.
oh.
Oh, you're clapping.
I don't,
That's all right.
I don't think we have it. We just have clapping and raising.
Okay, well, all right. Well,
Sorry, I don't know.
okay. So you had a comment.
Yeah, we live in that neighborhood where Rosina goes through.
Mhm.
And we have met the man that bought that 5-acre parcel at the top, because we live down Pine and that's at the top.
Mhm.
And so the only thing that I would wonder about that plan of diversion is that people would have to go down Pine for a block, because it's a block north of there. And, you know. it's
Yeah, no, we want to
weird-
go all the way to Palisades, Marge.
Yeah, that street from Pine goes to Petro.
Rosina.
You're talking about Ash, correct?
No, I'm talking about Rosina.
Oh,
Yeah,
Rosina.
Rosina.
Yeah,
It
Rosina,
goes
okay.
to Petro, it goes past that pumping, I don't know, it's a.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a well, it's a
Right. The Golden State.
yeah,
Yeah.
treatment facility.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's all dirt until you get to the school, and then
Right.
from there to Petro, it's paved.
Right.
It's a street.
What I'm
Yep.
saying is a path that would go from Palisades close to the library and come all the way through the open space. It would go through that property. And he said, oh, we'd be fine with that. So that
Uh-huh.
would come through that property and connect into that private road. Now, I think it's much trickier for all the reasons we've just mentioned.
Right.
So let's just stick with Los Osos Valley Road, because that I think is an easier thing to do.
That sounds good, yeah.
I would agree.
So
with
I'm
you.
just bringing that up because, there's always there are many roads to Rome. Let's put it that way. Okay, so the third project is the bike and pedestrian path to connect Ramona and Los Osos Valley Road, which is the core loop concept that Jeff Krebs came up with. And this is a beautiful concept, and we definitely want to be talking about it. So because of that, because we're going to be doing the outreach on May 1st, and I'm going to hopefully do a presentation at that time, because I have reached out to the Bicycle Advisory Committee, which meets on May 10th, and asked to be on the agenda for them. Jim and I have been putting together a PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you this PowerPoint, but I want you to understand that we just started doing this today. This is a completely rough draft. We're just sort of like throwing some information on these slides. There's a lot of work still left to be done on this presentation, but I'm going to share it with you because I want to get feedback and say how much I appreciate. Let's see. There we go. And now let me turn this into a slideshow.
Oh, that's our street.
You're seeing it, right?
Right.
Okay, but this thing is,
That's our street right there, Mitchell.
Actually,
can't-
that's Pine, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
right
Pine.
next to Mitchell.
Oh, no, it is Mitchell. You're right.
Yeah.
oops, sorry.
It's from
Okay.
Mitchell looking up Pine.
Right.
I want to make
So
this a slideshow, but it's
Down
not.
at the bottom, Deborah, go down to the bottom,
Yeah,
right there by the lower right-hand side.
yeah,
You see comments. The fourth one is a projector, right there.
okay. Oh, thank you. Okie dokie. So here we are, first slide, and then how do I advance? Oh, arrow key. Okay, so introducing ourselves, safe routes for all. And yeah, that's Pine. And that is supposed to be a bicycle route there. It has sharrows, which say, you know, kind of like bikes can go there. But the plan supposedly is that this street is to be widened and a class 2 bike path put in. Okay. That's not going to happen.
You're
Clearly.
not kidding, that's not happening.
No,
That
it's not going to happen, but this is what is on the bicycle plan for the future. So this is an issue that I need to bring up to the Bicycle Advisory Committee because they've chosen a street that is inappropriate for their plan. And so we want to work with them on that. So here we want to talk about, let me get rid of faces here. The changing demographic of Los Osos. Median home prices gone up significantly. In 2021, 66% of homes sold above the asking price. What we know, many people left urban areas in the north and south to move here and into Los Osos. However, Los Osos is still considered by Locac to be a disadvantaged community. We know that. We are geographically tucked into a little more than 12 and a half square miles, because on one side we have the estuary bay, on one side we have the dunes, and on the other side we have Montana de Oro. So we're packed in here pretty tight. Population 16,533 with a pretty high density. I think it's the second highest density, only behind San Luis Obispo City in terms of density here in this county. And we are the second largest unincorporated community in SLO County. So what does that mean? Oh, and then I'm not sure I love this slide, but Jim thought it sort of explained some of the changes that we're seeing in terms of who's living here.
That's cute.
So here's the deal. Active transportation meets the needs of both of these demographics, right? So the newcomers, more affluent, expect bike and pedestrian infrastructure. The disadvantaged need it to get from place to place because they don't have necessarily cars, or maybe they can't afford to put gas in their car, right? So they need it. The other group wants it. And the way Los Osos is, with our sort of mix of rural feel, some roads unfinished, really lends itself for us to put in these multi-use trails and allow for a real active transportation grid to exist. And this is a picture Jim took at the grocery store, a woman who had gone shopping and did it on her bike. The benefits of active transportation, health of individuals, the health of our community, the health of our environment. So we're going to, present some more information on that. Many public roads in Los Osos have no bike or walking paths. So here we have, this is Pecho Road going out to Montana de Oro. There's not even a shoulder there. And here, this is Pine again, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have a kid walking home with, it's inadequate. So Los Osos needs active transportation infrastructure, more people using e-bikes, bikes, want safe routes to stores, community center and library, kids need safe routes to school, retirees want a safe place to walk. This is the bike pathway. I need to put up a different one that shows the proposed paths. So I'm not going to get into this too much. This is really more for when I take this to the BAC. Pine as a bike pathway does not work. Yeah, it really doesn't. And it's never going to be able to be converted into a proper pathway for bikes or pedestrians.
Mhm.
Los Osos Valley Road needs a multi-use path. So here we have on the right, you see where the road is wider and there's opportunity, you know, for a bike, both for pedestrians and for bikes. But here, when you get down to right around Pine, it goes down to one lane and nothing. There's, you know, very little there to accommodate active transportation. Again, Montana de Oro, we're going to want to talk about the coastal road, the coastal trail that's going to come in. By the way, I was told by the staff person at Slowcog that they're changing the signs on Highway 1 and directing people who are following the coastal trail to turn onto South Bay Boulevard, because the coastal trail is going to come in and around Baywood and come out on Pacho and head out to Montana de Oro.
So there are multiple routes that are used, Deborah, for those riding the PCH down the coast. And one route takes Highway 1 into Slow through Santa Rosa to Higuera. The other one takes it through South Bay Boulevard and out to Montana de Oro. So if they can change that to be more of an official route, that'd be great.
Yes, that's what they're doing. And when they get the sign up, maybe we can take a picture of it. Okay, so that's that. Let me get out of here and I'm going to pull up.
So Deborah, may I just say something about the PowerPoint?
Please do.
So I know there's a couple of mistakes in there. There are more pictures to be secured and more content, but if you have feedback, I'm glad to have it and welcome it. So thank you.
Yeah.
So I actually, when I did the presentation for the path along Los Osos Valley Road, I have several photographs that could be helpful. If
Great.
you want me to forward those.
That'd be great, Meg. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah. We need to work on this presentation. It's right now we're kind of trying to do multi-use, because one is going to be for the public at the outreach, and the other is going to be more directed towards the bicycle advisory committee. So one of the things that's not in there, but that we're going to be putting in there is this.
So Meg, thanks for volunteering to help me. I really appreciate it. I'll get back to you.
Sure. No problem.
Did you see how he did that, Meg? So here we go. This is the work product of Jeff Krebs. We're so glad he's back in town and hopefully will be joining us at our next meeting. But he looked at Los Osos Baywood and said, how do we connect Baywood to Los Osos? And he came up with this concept called the core loop concept. And so here, if you follow my arrow, this is 10th Street. This is already designated as a bicycle boulevard. And that's because it is a dead end here in the middle. You have to go through some guardrails to get over to the other side. It's one of those streets that doesn't go through. So it makes it perfect for bicycles, right? And then here, this is Los Osos Valley Road. And then he chose Ravina as the road to go through. And so Ravina would have to be extended from Los Osos Valley Road to, what is this street? Ramona, too many R words, streets.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist because it goes through that open space, but it does exist on the county plan as a street. What the county will say is, well, when that gets developed, then you'll have your street. Well, we know that's not going to happen because of the water situation and the difficulty developing here. So we need to come up with an alternative. Okay, I see. Go ahead, Dave. You wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say on the PowerPoint before they showed us, I think having the width of those streets and the width of the shoulder would be great, like for instance on Pine Street. But regarding Jeff's plan, it definitely does not include a road down Ravenna. We're not talking about a road, as I understand it. It's a bicycle route.
A path.
Path of walker.
Right.
Walking,
Yeah.
yeah, a path, yeah.
Right. Okay, yes, thank you for that clarification. You're 100% correct. It's not a road. But nevertheless, the county says the same thing. Well, you know, when you get your development, then you can have your path. So so we're looking at alternatives, and it was suggested that we look at Broderson. Broderson goes out, I'm not sure exactly where it would fall on this map, but Broderson goes,
Halfway in between,
go ahead, say it again.
halfway between Pine and Ravenna.
Okay, so right about here.
Yeah. That's it.
And
right
it's
there.
partially paved, right? It's paved up to here, and then there, if you come over here, it's paved up to here, and then the middle section is not paved. Is that right?
Correct.
So there you go. You have the opportunity to fill in the unpaved area with an asphalt trail that would allow for pedestrians and cyclists to get from Los Osos Valley Road to Ramona, or vice versa. And wouldn't cost very much.
It connects right to Sweet Springs too.
Connects right to Sweet Springs, So it's a wonderful plan. It's exactly the kind of thing we should be, you know, not just us in Los Osos, but the county should be really embracing these concepts of how do we connect the areas in the community. So I'm going to be presenting this to the public at the outreach event, May 1, and I'm going to be presenting this at the Bicycle Advisory Committee, because we want them to just get away from the Pine Street concept and embrace something new that is more practical, affordable, and doable.
And Deborah, may I chime in to
Please.
John's point? If they used Broderson, Broderson comes along the west side of the mobile home park down there and goes all the way up to where that development would, the east side of that 5 acre development would be. And they could pay for part of that path potentially as well. So just a thought.
Good point. All right. So yeah, and you think how it would enhance that property, right? They're gonna like that because obviously they want to make it attractive for whatever it is that they're doing there. So I've kind of come around now to the agenda item, which is outreach. Obviously, I've told you we have the May 1st event. Please, please, please get as many people as possible to come by. We will have free ice cream, courtesy of Doc Bernstein, vanilla and chocolate. I just found that out today.
Wow.
So, I mean, we're going to have a lot of stuff there. Dave, aren't you going to be there? I think you were doing something with, is it Elfin or Audubon?
Yeah, we're going to be there for the Elfin Forest.
Great. Fantastic. Yeah. So Los Osos Cares is going to be there. Celebrate Los Osos is going to be there. South Bay Women's Network is going to be there. The Chamber is going to be there. So we want a lot of people to show up because we want to get the word out about what active transportation is, what we're trying to accomplish. We need community support. We're going to be doing a survey. Meg did her, let's see if I can pull up the survey. Don't know if I have the survey.
I may be able to pull it up if we share, if you share the screen.
Okay.
So if you go down to share screen, multiple people can share screen.
Yeah, let me pull her up. Meg. Make host, co-host. Okay, there you go. All right, so now you're co-host, Meg, so you should be able to share.
Okay, I gotta look for it here. Let's see.
Okay, and then there's a thing called, I don't know exactly what it's called. It's they're categories, and I put this on the agenda, so I'll just go to this until Meg pulls up her survey. Oh, you know what? I could pull it up. It's on the agenda. But anyway, Rideshare did a survey of cyclist categories. All right. So there's strong and fearless. That's Jim Hale out on the road. Enthused and confident. Interested but concerned. And then no way, no how. And then they do a survey and they say, okay, what category would you fall into? And so in Los Osos, there were 10% in the strong and fearless, 16% in the enthused and confident, and 32% interested but concerned, and 42% interested and concerned, and 32% no way, no how. Well, I can't blame them, because who would want to get out on the streets here? Los Osos Valley Road had a speed, I'm not sure what that's called, where it flashes the speed that you're going.
Yes, I saw that.
The speed limit there is 40 miles an hour. I was going 46 when I went by that thing. I know there are people going faster than me. So people are traveling at a high rate of speed, and that's nothing, because when they get up to Pecho, they go even faster because they're coming up the hill. So we need it. We know we need it. Now we just have to figure out how to get it. And so, did you find it yet, Meg?
You know, I found it and now I'm trying to figure out how to share it.
Okay. Well,
Can you see it?
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Woohoo.
So it's very short. And actually, I believe that, did you end up putting it on next door, the survey?
Not yet, but I'm going to.
Okay, because there's 3 responses.
Oh,
So
great.
either the school has come through, and that was something I was going to discuss when you got to it, but
Yeah, well, let's talk about this survey now.
okay, so the survey that I sent to the school is slightly different than this. It addresses more, families and their children's needs for getting to school safely. And the Monarch Grove Elementary was going to put it in their newsletter, and it had to be approved by the school board. And I've been going back and forth with the principal, and I haven't gotten a definite answer as to whether or not they received approval from the school board that they could put it in the newsletter. But the fact that I've gotten 3 responses, although that wouldn't be this one, would it? Anyway, point being that there's a survey going to the school, through the school, and then there's this one that you can post on Nextdoor and also use at the event on May 1st.
Right.
So
Yes, I'll put that on Nextdoor, and so we can read through, are you
Yeah.
using the community center?
do family members use those things? If you had access to a safe path, would you use it? If you have a student at home, do they have a safe path to go to and from school? When you think of safe routes to school or safe roads, which of the corridors would be of highest priority to you? And then number 5 is there any other corridor, in Los Osos that would be priority for you? And then would you like to know more about Locac? And if you'd like to be on the mailing list, provide your email below. So it's less than 2 minutes to fill it out.
Meg, I have a question.
Sure.
So on Nextdoor and for the event on May 1,
Uh-huh.
we going, or is it through Survey Monkey, or so for instance, on Nextdoor, how is that data aggregated?
This is through Survey Monkey. So anybody that completes this survey, the data will go into Survey Monkey and then I can access it from there.
All right, excellent. And then for the May 1st event, how do you envision allowing people, attendees, to access the survey?
That is a very good question. I was hoping that we could have a computer there that people could just do it there. But if they choose not to do it there, but are still interested in doing the survey, we could maybe get their email and send it to them.
What about, could we use an iPad?
Of course, yeah. I think any kind of a device that has the survey on it that they can use.
So I'll bring my iPad, and
Okay.
I can bring it by your place earlier. But if we can figure out how to allow, one entity to access the survey multiple times, I'll bring my iPad and we'll use it there for the event.
Okay.
They can eat ice cream and do a survey.
There you go. That sounds perfect.
If you want ice cream, you have to do the survey.
Yeah. There's a caveat. So unfortunately, I now have a conflict on that day, but I can share this survey with you and you can get it on your iPad and bring it.
Okay, great. So we can connect offline and take care of it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the details. That's
All
fine.
right, thank you.
I think another way to do it, and I've researched it a little bit, is we could put the survey on a QR code. And I think you can do it for free. We could just have a QR code there that people could, do on their smartphone and take the survey that way. We could also just have paper surveys
Brilliant.
that we collect.
Yeah.
But I'd rather avoid having litter and expense when we don't need to.
Right.
Dave, I'm not ignoring you. I'm gonna let you speak, but the rideshare people, Catalina, they have these mini grants that they award, and I put in for a mini grant, and we can spend up to $200 on this event, and so we're going to use it on printing. So we're going to do some printing, so we have some things to display, and so we could print up some of these surveys, but I would prefer to do it either QR code or a tablet or whatever. So that's kind of the direction we're going. Dave, now you can chime in.
I'll just speak up in favor of putting it on a piece of paper. I think if you have, I don't know how well attended this thing is going to be, but if you have 10 people there, they could all be writing on a piece of paper and putting it in a box rather than standing in line trying to use some iPhone or something.
That's a good point.
A tablet. Yeah, well, you know what? We'll do it all. We'll have a QR code that you can just click on with your camera of your phone and take the survey. We'll have some paper ballots. And then, we can, I'm worried about the tablet thing because I think surveys usually only let you take it once. And so once your tablet's been used, Jim, I'm not sure that you'll be able to take the survey again, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So still a lot of work to do before May 1. I talked already, funding sources. We already talked about community betterments, that I have appointment with Debbie Arnold May 2nd. The California Active Transportation Resource Center. This is the state, and they have a funding cycle that's just opening up as well. They have a whole resource center that's all about helping people figure out how to get money for active transportation. And I've been having conversation with this wonderful woman up there. Her name is Summer. And she's like, well, here's this resource, here's this resource, here's this resource, but Locac cannot do it. Locac is not an entity that can receive funding for something like this. So we need to identify that entity. And if it's going to be the school individually or the school board on behalf of the schools, whatever it is, we need to identify who they are, because we can't move forward on getting this help that we need. I did a little research on Coastal Unified. I'm sorry that Jim Quisenberry is not here, because I was really confused when I saw that Monarch Grove and Baywood are in 2 different districts. I don't know how that is, but that's the way the map shows. So we have 2 different, maybe it's for the better. We have 2 different representatives, one for Baywood Elementary, Chris Unger, and one for Monarch Grove, Evelyn Frame. And then another one, if you want to count Morro Bay High School, which we should count because those children, excuse me, get dropped off by the bus at Baywood Elementary School. And that's another representative, Marilyn Roger. So I think all 3 of those people are possible people that we should be talking to say, help us. So Dave has his hand up, and then Marge, you said you wanted to make a comment. So let's start with Dave.
I didn't understand exactly what you said earlier about the county public works, or I guess it was public works, Mr. Waddell, saying that they didn't want to do this. And if public works is not in favor of it, then how can we expect anybody to pay any attention to the CSD or the school board unless there's some different avenue? Maybe I don't understand the way that it works.
Well, here's my answer.
Who sent that?
Public Works works for SLOCOG. SLOCOG works for us. So let's get our priorities straight here. They work for SLOCOG, SLOCOG works for us. So that means if we want Public Works to do what we want them to do, we have to get SLOCOG to do what we want them to do, right? And then they want one-to-one matching. That means we have to go find some more money to match so we can get this planning grant. And one of the ways we can do that is to go to the state. And to go to the state means somebody like a school board or Monarch Grove or somebody has to represent us in that grant application. And that it can be considered, then they might be able to come up with we need matching funds. Okay, we'll give you the matching funds. And now here come the matching funds. Public Works is not going to say no to a project that has matching funds. We can't let Public Works stand in the way, in my opinion. So that's my answer, Dave. I hope it's a good one.
I agree completely with you. And remember, we the ones that live in Los Osos, Public Works does not. So we need to have our point of view represented and not let them steamroller over us.
Well, so let me share with you a little bit of what John Waddell said to me, because he actually did live here during the time of the sewer, and he was head of that project. And he made a comment to me that said, well, Los Osos, they never want their streets to be paved or a traffic signal put on their corner or a sidewalk put in. And so, people are still feeling the wounds of that sewer war experience. And we have to get past that. And that's why I sort of bring in this demographic of the new influx of people, because we don't want to be held back by this old vision of Los Osos. We want to be something where we're cutting edge. We're leading the charge for this new way of living in the world where we're conserving resources and we're caring about the environment and we're wanting to live healthy lifestyles. And that's all part and parcel of this, right? So we have to do a good job of selling it, no question. We have to get, and I've sent an email to John Waddell and I said, let's work together. You want to do your corridor study? Great. Start in Los Osos and build out that piece that we want. Unfortunately, their mindset is, well, we have to put in these sidewalks and it's going to cost $2 million. And I said, why? I'm not asking you for a big sidewalk that's going to cost $2 million. All I want is a path, an asphalt path, a DG path. And then he just looked at me like he didn't understand. And I go, I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for this. And this is not going to cost $2 million. So we need to educate. We need to repair perhaps some relationships there. We have to let them know that we're willing to do some of the heavy lifting when it comes to going out and looking for money. And we need to work politically and get Slocog on our side. That's my approach.
Mine.
How am I doing? What do you guys think?
You're doing good.
I think that's a great approach.
Yep, I agree.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have just one question real quick to clarify. I thought that Slocog as an organization would at least facilitate grant writing, on the behalf of a project, like if they helped us.
They do. They do.
So it seems like that would be like essential because they're the ones
Well,
who
so
have the money.
let's separate the local grant writing from the state grant writing, because we can go straight to the state and make an application. So let's say Monarch Grove says, okay, we will be the applicant. We could do the grant writing, send it off to the state and cross our fingers and hope we get some funding there, right? Meanwhile, on the local level, on the county level, the county is going to look at their capital improvement plans and say, oh, we think we should fund these things now. We're going to write up applications for funding and send it into Slocog. See, Slocog has the purse strings and they're waiting for people to send in their applications for projects and then they'll evaluate those.
Right. So that's why I agree with that. And that's why I was thinking that getting them involved as soon as possible, because I don't know anything about grant writing at all.
Right. Well, Jim's going to we're working on that. We're working on that. That's not going to stand in our way. Grant writing is not going to be the thing that stops us. So
teaching that class you're taking, Jim.
I'll send you the email. It's an email that I got, and it's an invitation for people who are looking into doing grant writing.
Okay.
So I can send it to you, and anybody else who's interested in it. I will send it out. In fact, I'll just send it to everybody. And then let's see. Oh, Tom Cross was one of the responses on the survey, Meg. So that's kind of what I have on the agenda. I feel like it's a lot because I've been working kind of furiously to move this forward, knowing that the awards for this money, the community betterments, is the end of June, July, something like that. We don't have a lot of time really to, try to get something going here. And we may not make it this cycle. It's possible that we'll have to wait for the next cycle. But in the process, we'll learn something we'll learn more about what we need to do, and we'll be better at it the second time if it doesn't work this time. But we're definitely going to be needing to work with the Board of Supervisors, the people on SLOCOG, and get their attention. And I think we've started that.
Well, I'm definitely interested in helping in any way I can. So
Great.
this just really makes a lot of sense to me. So thank you.
Yeah, I will send you an application to be on the committee. It's not just, you have to agree to follow policies and procedures, which is really about, we're going to be nice to one another. We're not going to say nasty things. Kind of the gist of
That
it.
works.
Really.
That always works.
And so, yes, I'll send that in. Anything else anybody wants to Dave and Bev, I hope you're going to join me now that we're going to be traffic and circulation.
So are you calling it traffic and circulation and active transportation, or what's the name of the committee now?
I don't know. It's kind of a long name. What do you suggest?
Oh, it's two that merged together.
I haven't thought about it yet.
All right, well, think about it, because I mean, it's just kind of a really, active transportation should be a subcommittee of traffic and circulation, but the traffic and circulation is really what I've got going right now. And what I would like to do is revisit the concept of a one-way street on Santa Maria from Baywood Elementary down to 3rd Street. I think the community would love it. I think it would be an inexpensive, and we could call it a pilot project. And it's the kind of thing that's happening everywhere. It certainly happened on Monterey Street in San Luis Obispo, where they turned it into a one-way street so that restaurants could have their parklets. They completely closed down State Street in Santa Barbara to traffic, no traffic at all. So this is not, this is a tool in the toolbox, frankly, and there's no reason why we can't use that tool in the toolbox. It would be inexpensive. Meg, go ahead.
During the traffic and circulation meetings in the past, there was a representative from planning. And I'm wondering if that's something we can request for these meetings.
Exactly. So they take it a little more seriously, I think, when it's traffic and circulation.
Right.
So maybe we lead with that, traffic and
Mhm.
circulation, and we start getting somebody here from Public Works to, to listen. And, I might have to be not so freewheeling.
Mhm.
Do that. I'll try my best. But yes, I agree with you. And they may not always show up, but we could ask for them to show up at specific times and say, oh, we really need somebody here for this meeting. And, but then we're going to have to talk about traffic stuff. And so that's where I'm really wanting Dave and Jeff to come in and educate me, Lynette, to educate me on what are the traffics and circulation issues. Obviously, a one-way street would be a traffic and circulation issue. And all of that needs to be really worked out, right? Dave, you asked me, well, which way is the street going to go? Well, okay, good question. I think it should go east, but I'm not an engineer, so. Any other comments? All right. Well, if there are no other comments, then I think we can adjourn. I'll be posting the survey on Nextdoor. We'll figure out how we're going to get as many people as possible to answer the survey at the outreach. Go ahead, Dave.
Just asking when the next meeting is.
Good question. When do we want to have the next meeting? Let's take a look.
How about
We're
May
looking at
8?
May?
How about May 18?
That's a Wednesday.
Yes, ma'am.
How's that sound? Does anybody have any issues with May 18, 6 o'clock? Okay.
The only thing I would
My
say,
calendar.
yeah, the only thing I would say is that, you know, traffic and circulation met the third Thursday or third Monday or something. I don't remember what, every month. Land use meets the first Monday every month. If it's a regular schedule, which we can work on figuring out, but if it's a regular schedule each month, then it makes it easier to say to people that we might be chatting with, you know, why don't you come to the meeting? And then we'd know when it was, and they'd have an easy way to figure it out. But we don't have to settle that on that right now. But I think the
Dave-
other thing about having the representative from Public Works, a traffic engineer, come to the meeting of traffic and circulation was that they could actually tell us something about the thinking at the county. And that could either be something that would work in our favor or not, but at least we would have information from somebody who had some influence at the county in the Public Works Department for traffic.
So Dave, my suggestion was the third Wednesday of May. I think moving forward, the third Wednesday or Tuesday of each month might work. It depends on the rest of the committee, but that's my suggestion.
Whenever it is, this is Bev, I would suggest also that maybe it appear on locac.info earlier, because it only came up, as far as I could tell, just a day or so before.
It did. And that's my fault. Because I forgot to, I need to make an agenda. I have to put it on the website. So-
Even just putting the date up would be helpful and the time.
Well, let's try the third Wednesday of every month. Let's just give it a try. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, we'll revisit that. But for now, let's say the third Wednesday of every month, we're going to meet at 6 o'clock. We're going to keep meeting on Zoom. I think that's just the easiest way. That way we can pull up all kinds of pictures and things on the screen and not have to worry about doing anything in a personal meeting. Is that okay with everybody?
Great.
I just want to bring up one point. The Utilities Advisory Committee of the CSD usually meets the third Wednesday at 5:30. So I usually go to that meeting, so.
It doesn't work.
Okay, so how about
6:30.
Maybe
Yeah,
Lynette
Lynette-
knows the schedule for the meetings.
How long do those meetings go, Lynette?
Usually an hour.
well, what about the third Tuesday?
South Bay Women's Network.
Oh, that's right. South Bay Women's Network. That's right.
About 6:30 on Wednesday.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it earlier. I know Meg wanted to have an earlier time.
What happens the second Wednesday?
That's okay. It doesn't have to be earlier. I'm flexible with that. It's more, I'm not available on Thursdays usually.
Yeah, Thursday's not going to be a good day for me either. You're saying the second Wednesday?
Yeah, does that work?
Let's see. I think so. Does anybody have a problem with the second Wednesday?
I can't remember what the other committees, if they have meetings of Locac, if they have regular days or not. Maybe Lynette, maybe you or Lynette know. Um, I know that, as I said, planning or land use is the first Monday, as far as I know. But and obviously Locac is the fourth Thursday. So besides those, I haven't kept
The only other committee besides this one is trees and landscape. And right now they don't have a chairperson.
Right.
So that's it for committees.
So the other committees don't meet then, that are on Locac.
Well, there aren't any other committees.
Oh, I thought there was a communications or something and I don't remember what else.
There's a land use committee, I thought.
Yeah, there's land use, trees and landscape, traffic and circulation.
Ad hoc water committee.
Yeah, but that's not a public committee. That's just an information committee. That's myself and James Bishop.
And community outreach doesn't really meet that way either. I mean,
Yeah, community outreach is just, you know,
It's-
somebody writing the newsletter. And this is actually the first time we've ever done an event. Is that right, Lynette?
yeah, I mean, they
No.
used to have joint meetings with the CSD at least once a year, but that was a long time ago.
Mhm. All right, so we're going to go for the second Wednesday of every month. We're going to give that a go and see how it works. So that makes our meeting going to fall on the 11th, May 11th,
At 6?
at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
All righty. And I'll try not to forget to make the agenda so we can all look at it. And I'll see you all at the outreach event, May 1. It should be fun. At least we're going to get ice cream out of it.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody. All right.
Hi all,
I know.
Bye.
good one.